you here. Okay, hold on. So this is Cliff. He's the man that had the idea for all this. And you're in for a beautiful sharing. He shared it with me what he's going to share, and it's profound, it's deep, and it's moving. So, Cliff, just give me a chance to get there, and then you can start, okay?
Okay.
And try to speak into the mic.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm not a professional speaker, so.
Okay.
The first time I met Cy Winter, he was standing across from the Morgentaler Clinic on Bank Street. I was convicted in my conscience that I should be standing there too, but was afraid of the stigma, abuse, and legal consequences. I noticed that Cy had a very powerful intensity to him that I perceived to be a kindness mixed with sadness. Cy seemed to be a driven man, but for a good reason. I saw the reactions of the pedestrian and motorized traffic. Some would mock and shout obscenities. Others would show support. I was in the middle of an ideological and moral war that divided and polarized the nation. A conflict that the politicians I voted for avoided at all costs. This was political suicide. This was an unresolvable issue. I spoke with Cy and enjoyed the discussion. I noticed that I was drawn to him and looked for an opportunity to assist him. I began to stand there with him too at first without a sign. I would look for him as I would pass on the bus to work. He seemed to be there daily. Day after day he was there. Year after year he was there. Others were with him. Sometimes I would get off the bus and stand there too. I began to hold a sign and sign the black book. I began to meet interesting and committed people that I could connect with on a level that I really enjoyed. I did not feel so isolated as I shared their beliefs. I felt warmth. I felt that I was doing the right thing. I felt that I was on the right side of history. I noticed that I now did not care what others thought. Standing there was now had an appeal to me. I was no longer concerned about the abuse I willingly suffered for standing there. I now look for opportunities to stand there. I began to schedule it into my life. I began to make sacrifices to stand there. I was hooked. I did not like those disgusting graphic signs that hinted of fanaticism. I did not like fanaticism. I did not want to appear to be a fanatic. I saw the reaction to those signs. They would get a response. They were obscene. They were the truth. This was murder with all its brutality exposed. People could not handle it. I would see women turn and laugh with disbelief. Men would yell obscenities and threaten. Exposing a heinous crime was now considered obscene and far worse than the act. I began to stand there with those obscene signs that provoked such a gut-wrenching response. I was afraid I would be noticed. I was afraid I would be reported. I was afraid I would appear to be considered unstable. I could lose my job. I could potentially lose my license and means of employment. All it would take would be one criminal conviction. But I believed in God. Jesus would protect me if I was doing His will. I had the support of my church. I was authorized to stand there. This is all that I needed. I attended my first March for Life in Ottawa. I stood by the gates of Parliament on Wellington Street with an obscene sign while crowds of people passed by. I began to attend the march year after year. I would ask for time off work in advance so I could attend. I began to recruit others that I knew, Christians that cared. I felt responsible for their safety as I had gotten them involved. Was this an ethical thing to do? How would I answer to their loved ones if they were hurt? Injury was now a real possibility in Canada. There was so much hostility against us. There was so much hostility against Christ. People looked on and jeered as they murdered Him. They railed against Him. He was the embodied truth. It said so in John 1, This is what they did to Cy. They lied about him as they lied about the truth. The media reports that I read concerning Cy were false. I knew this to be true as I was a witness myself. The mayor asked for a law to get rid of Cy. They could not do it legally. They had to make it happen one way or the other. The premier asked the attorney general to create such a law. He complied. He came up with a law that was extreme. It violated the charter. He did it anyway. Ontario now led the nation in oppression. We lost our freedom of a peaceful assembly that day. Most people I spoke with did not care. We had lost our freedoms that our ancestors had so bravely died for. The politicians that made the speeches on November the 11th now allowed our basic freedoms to be snatched away. Day after day, we began to lose our freedoms. They first came for the butcher, but I was not a butcher, so I said nothing. Then they came for me, but nobody was left. Was I now a slowly boiled frog? The day Cy died, so did my Canada. This was no longer my country. These were the new Canadian values that we were being forced by law to adhere to. What was next? Would they find a way to take away my license? If I went on assistance in the future, would I have to sign something in support of a twisted core value against my Christian beliefs? Would I have to deny my faith to survive? The powers had taken a man by force, contrary to the law, and began to prosecute him according to the law. This was the new Canada. This was my country. The average person was unaware and did not care. To them, Cy was a nuisance. He deserved this. Good riddance. But they could not kill his memory. As Abel's blood cried out of the ground for justice, as written in Genesis, so does Cy's memory. A true account of what really happened must come out. Napoleon said, history is a set of lies agreed upon. We must set the record straight. We are all witnesses of what happened in our nation's capital, one street over from where our laws are made. How can such a travesty occur so close to the heart of our democracy? We are the caretakers of Cyril Winter's memory. This task is our responsibility. We are responsible to the truth. One day we will be judged for this. Thank you.